everyone, and welcome back to the Rebel Mind, where we talk about everything mindset related. Because when you change your perception, you change the world. So, if you're new here, hi, I'm Lauren. I am an entrepreneur, a copywriter, and a copywriting coach, and I love everything mindset related. So, and it has helped shape my life and my business. So, I wanted to share some of my knowledge tidbits with you. So, the topic that I wanted to talk about today is related to ADHD. I have ADHD. I found out later in life, so the struggle was real. I am not a healthcare professional. I am not anyone who has any authority, just speaking from my personal experience in this. So, with talking with other copywriters and entrepreneurs who have ADHD, and when they go into entrepreneurship, we have spent so much of our lives trying to live within a neurotypical system as a neurodivergent person. And I truly believe that entrepreneurship is one of the best avenues somebody with ADHD can take, because you have the power, particularly in freelance copywriting, but you have the power to build your environment around you, which at first, like, let's be honest, we try and fit within the mold because that's what we've been conditioned our entire life to fit within the mold. You have to work this 9 to 5. You have to do all of these hours. You have to, do this. You have to do it in this specific way. Throughout school, you have to be in school from this time to this time, and you have to do homework, and you have to turn it in on time, and you have to, show up to school on time, and like all of the things that are really hard for people with ADHD to do. And we're so used to fighting against these challenges that I think sometimes we lose the perception that we can lean into our strengths and find solutions for our challenges that don't fall within our neurotypical system. And that is a real mind shift there. But one of the things with entrepreneurship is that if you are a type of person, particularly as a freelance copywriter, if you are a type of person who does not do mornings well, like so many of us ADHDers, mornings are hard. And there's an actual scientific reason behind that I'm not going to go into. But if nighttime is like your best time, if you are a night owl, that's when you feel the most creative, then you have the capability to do most of your creative time, most of your writing or whatever in that time. There are things that you have to adapt to, just like with anybody. Like if you're having a call with a neurotypical who maybe lives in a different time zone, you do have to adapt. So sometimes you can't always make it perfect, but when you can adapt your life, like if you're just having a one of those days when what is it called, ADHD fatigue, which is just like you're just down for a day or two or three. As an entrepreneur, you have the capability because you are your own boss, right? So if you need to take those days off, you can. And if you want to work, on a day that you would normally designate as a day off, you have that power. And so the one thing I really want to emphasize to all of my fellow ADHD entrepreneurs is to build your environment around your brain. Your like time blocking systems, right? So this podcast, highly recommend everybody listen to. It's called Unstucked, and it's spelled Unstuck KD. And the host has ADHD, and he talks a ton about his experience, and just like all of the guests he has on, just so amazing. Also, I'm gonna be on it. But it's a really great podcast to listen to as an entrepreneur, especially because he talks a lot about how you can change your life, how you can get unstuck from the things in your life that are holding you down, whether that's finances. And a lot of people with ADHD really struggle with financial management. And so having another source of advice by somebody who has ADHD and knows the struggle and the difficulty of managing your finances, of being consistent with anything in your life. One of the things he talks a lot about is the consistency doesn't mean you have to do it every day. And I know sometimes regimented systems can really be helpful for us, right? If we know that we have to do this thing every day at this time, it can sometimes help us be more consistent with it. Not that we're always, because like medication, how many people like are like, oh, I'm supposed to take my medication every day, and then they forget to take their medication, right? But and then he has an awesome like habit builder called One and One too. So that's really great because it's really like they're really really easy steps. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm building a habit to spend an hour doing this thing every single day. They're super super simple. Like if you want to build an exercise routine, it literally starts with just putting your shoes on, and that's really approachable for people with ADHD to have like the lowest hanging fruit that you're going. So like we often want to do all or nothing, and actually when you're just taking those tiny tiny steps to just do this one little tiny thing, it builds that momentum, and that helps with that consistency because whenever we have that like hyper focused, high energized, super inspired moment of like starting this new thing in our business or starting this new regimen because we really want to get healthier, or we want to build this exercise routine, or we want to start this new leg of our business, or we want to start a YouTube channel. Um, we can get really inspired and we go and we put 100% in, and then we have the time where the inspiration reduces. And it's so hard just to even just start it. And one of the tips, particularly that he talks a lot about, is to start for just 2 minutes. When it's something that's this low bar that you're going for, it's a lot easier to get yourself to start something, to just do something for 2 minutes, like writing my book. It's a lot easier for me to be like, I'm just going to spend a couple minutes today working on one chapter, not looking at the entire book and seeing like, oh my God, how am I going to write this huge ass book that I want to write? I can just start just writing a paragraph and give yourself full permission to say, okay, I'm done after that paragraph is done. After you put your shoes on and you step outside for a little while and do maybe a little bit of a mini walk. I'm just going to walk for 10 minutes. That's your low bar. Sometimes that low bar opens you up to doing a full exercise thing, to doing a full chapter. But you need that easy gateway to get there. It's a way to just take those first steps. And it can also help you to be more consistent and build that momentum to where it's no longer such a mental hurdle to start doing this thing. It feels more natural, right? My self-care routine was that. That was even if I had just meditated for 2 minutes or 5 minutes, and that's all I did during my self-care routine, I'm starting to build it into a something my body wants to do every single day. Something that my body is just like, no, no, we need to do this. To where that urge beat out scrolling on social media, where that urge beat out the just not wanting to do anything, right? And after time of even just giving yourself just this low entry point, it builds more momentum. Another thing as an entrepreneur, scheduling and time is difficult. Time management is really hard for us. So one thing that I have this great little timer that doesn't have a super annoying beep, and it also can count up. So that's a great tool to use, so you can watch the time as it starts to count up, because sometimes countdown can give you anxiety. I know that it does me, but that can help with managing that time. And also time blocking is great, because you can be like, sometimes it's like, oh, I have to do this thing, and in your mind, because of this time blindness, it can feel like it's going to take you 10 years to do this thing, you know. And so then you don't do it, but then after you do it, you realize, oh my god, this actually only took me 10 minutes to do. And so when you time block things, you take those moments and you think about, like, okay, how much time does this actually take me to do? If it only takes me really 2 hours to write a blog, then I can block off 2 hours of my schedule and see that I have all this other space. We're very visual. So actually having a schedule in front of you is really, really helpful. And seeing, okay, I have this meeting at this time, and then I have all of this other time. I know that it takes me 2 hours to write this blog, so I'll put this 2 hour time spot here. I know it takes me half an hour a day to do marketing, so let me put this time block here. And then what I do is I will color code everything. So if I have one brand that I'm working with and their main website color is pink, then everything related to their business I put as pink in my schedule. And then anything I do on LinkedIn marketing, LinkedIn is blue. So everything LinkedIn related is blue. My website is got a lot of purple in it, so I put purple in anything that I have to do for my tasks. So whether that's doing a YouTube video, YouTube's are actually red in my calendar because YouTube is red. So the color coding can make your schedule look more exciting in your brain. So that's like a little hack that I learned. Okay, I can't remember her name. I will put the link to her Instagram on here. She is a financial coach for like ADHD people, and she's really, really cool. Everything she does is like super bright colors because it makes our brain happy. So color coding your schedule, time blocking your schedule, set a timer for specific tasks so you don't get like hyper focused and get lost in it. Unless you really want to and you have that capability, then like go for it. But sometimes when it's harder to start something, it can be better to just have that timer and be like, I'm just going to do it for this amount of time. When that timer goes off, I'm done and I'm leaving it no matter where I'm at. That can make those harder tasks easier to approach. And so set yourself a low bar so that way you have that low entry point to build that consistency and build that momentum when things are hard, and build your environment around you. You have the capability. You, as an entrepreneur, you have the freedom to work at midnight if that's when you work best. You can do that. It's okay. You don't have to stick in the 9 to 5 just because you have been trained to work in a 9 to 5. If that's when because you're conditioned to it, if that works great for you, then great. But just know that you have other options. As an entrepreneur, you can build your environment around you. And if you work better with large, like, times of work and then a half an hour break, there's also the Pomodoro, which works great for some people, where it's like 20 minutes on, and then like you take a break and then it's another 20 minutes. There's a whole thing. But basically, what I'm trying to say is build your environment around you. Find the strategies that work best for you. If you have hyper focus kick in and you're super inspired to start this new thing, dump it all out. Spend the time to do it. And be aware that sometimes that hyper focus can really turn into burnout pretty quickly. And I know easier said than done to have the awareness around that hyper focus because it's so inspiring. You have so much energy towards this thing. Do what you can to brain dump it. So that way you're not losing any of these inspiring thoughts because, if it's not in front of you, you can tend to forget it. So either write it out. I do a ton of voice memos because I tend to talk faster than I can type when I have an inspired idea. So record it out. Get all of that energy, all of those thoughts out so that way you have them in some format to revisit. And then if you have that inspired momentum towards something, try and designate time to be like, I am going to go at this thing, right? Like I'm working on one book and then I had another idea for another book. So I'm like, okay, I don't have the bandwidth at the moment to do both books at once because I'm having a hard enough time doing all of my other things and writing this book. So I did a whole brain dump in a voice memo about exactly what I want this other book to be. And then I will address that then. I actually might make it in a mini ebook first and sell it on my website, but we'll cover that another day. So, I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any other like ADHD tips or questions or anything, if you have anything in particular you want me to talk about, leave it in the comments below. Also, like, subscribe, do all of the things, share with a fellow rebel, and let's start a revolution.